Hi, Faranaaz. Thank you so much for joining us. Just for everyone else, my name's Amina and I'm a midwife at Tommy's. We're going to be talking today about fasting during the month of Ramadan and how that might impact you if you're pregnant and if you're breastfeeding. Both myself and Faranaaz are Muslim women as well, so we have experience of fasting as mums, as women, in pregnancy and breastfeeding as well. So hopefully it can be kind of a nice conversation that we're all having regarding some of the issues that might kind of crop up. What we should probably clarify is that we're talking quite specifically about fasting as a kind of a religious act of worship that Muslims, mainly Muslims do, but people of other faiths do as well. That is different to kind of things like intermittent fasting or kind of calorie control. They're two quite different things. So what we're kind of discussing today is where we'll be talking about kind of fasting for religious reasons. It's the month of Ramadan at the moment. We're fasting ourselves, so we're kind of in the throes of it. We've just had a quick conversation off camera about how we've adjusted to it because we're a week in, and my caffeine headache has gone, which is very good, and you know, kind of how it's kind of been impacted in that way. But generally, kind of speaking about fasting for Muslim women or women of other faith during pregnancy, I think it's kind of quite widely known that fasting for pregnant women and breastfeeding women, there is quite a clear exemption for those women who feel like it may affect their health, and that's the exemption in kind of Islamic law or religious kind of understanding of it is that pregnancy is a unique state. Women have additional nutritional needs, hydration needs, and it's always a case of kind of weighing up, is this safe for me to do so? Is it safe for my baby to do so? Same applies with breastfeeding, which I'll pass on to you in a moment. And you know, the advice has always been, for as long as I have been aware, is that you kind of have to look at it on a very individual basis and look at how pregnancy is affecting you, what effect it has upon you, how comfortable you are with it, and always keeping an eye out for signs of, you know, if you've started fasting, if it's affecting you, you know, looking out for signs of dehydration, for example, or if very importantly your baby's movements have slowed down and you think actually this is now affecting me, then absolutely stopping that fast and, you know, taking a break from it in that way. I'm going to start off by asking the lovely Faranaaz to introduce yourself and maybe talk a little bit about this amazing organisation that you are part of in Leicester.
Hi, yeah, it's lovely being here. Thank you so much for inviting me. So my name is Faranaaz and I'm one of the breastfeeding peer supporters for Mammas. So I did my training as breastfeeding peer supporter in 2011. And so I joined Mammas and I've been supporting. A few years ago, about 5 years ago, the Mammas changed into community interest company. So I'm also one of the co-directors for Mammas now. The aim of our group is really to give support to mums in Leicester when it comes to feeding. So mostly it will be breastfeeding support, but we also give support to mums who are co-feeding and formula feeding as well. And I'm really passionate about breastfeeding. I've learned so much since I did my training. I've been to many conferences, and it's something that I have, you know, really I'm very keen on.
Brilliant. And I understand you do breastfeeding support in a number of languages as well, so which is quite unique, I think, which is, you know,
yes.
So you kind of cover the range of the community, definitely in Leicestershire as well. And has that changed to being online because of kind of COVID restrictions, or is it still kind of mainly face-to-face based?
So since last year we have started doing lots of sessions online. So we have got a WhatsApp group. So many, and now we have opened a fourth WhatsApp group now because it's so difficult to accommodate that many moms. So about 200 in each group. So so moms are on these WhatsApp groups and we support them. So they will put their queries, They will share the experience, etc. But we also do sessions with them, so on focus topics like sleep and weaning and things like that. So we have got lots of response. Many moms attend these sessions. We also have coffee morning and afternoon tea, so where moms just come out for a chat. So yeah, we've been very active even after lockdown. As regard to breastfeeding support, so we have our 2 headlines, which are quite busy. And also formerly we used to go and do home visits. So if moms needed additional support, we go and visit them in person. But now we are not doing that, but we do video calls as well, and we do give extra support.
Okay, brilliant. I mean, that's so important with the lockdown and with, you know, the information that we've got coming out from people who felt quite isolated when they're pregnant and had babies. You've kind of lost your support network of the people who'd normally be around you. So having services like yours available to kind of do that is amazing. And, you know, breastfeeding support, as midwives, we know how essential it is to have that ongoing support after the midwives leave you, and you know, the health visitors are there, but actually having that additional support is fantastic. So thank you so much for kind of, you know, continuing all of your amazing hard work in that way. Just kind of moving on to the topic of fasting, how does it kind of apply to breastfeeding?
Yeah, so I think it's very important that you put forward the fact that the exemption is there. So Islam has allowed women who are fasting and who are breastfeeding and who are pregnant to leave the fasting and to do it later, or to pay the fidya, which is a compensation that we pay, we give money to the poor for the equal amount of fasting missed. But what happens is many women feel like they don't want to take that exemption. They feel like the pressure of fasting is quite strong. And then I think it's like you said, it's really important for mom to make that decision. It's her call. She knows her situation. She knows her baby, for example, when she's breastfeeding, and she has to take all that into consideration before making that decision. And she shouldn't let you know, others influence her in her decision. Yeah, there will be pressure maybe from the family, or maybe, you know, she feels guilty because she feels that, you know, I'm just taking the easy route, you know, by not fasting. But many, you know, moms know that it is really hard. You know, motherhood is very hard. When it is at its initial stage, it's really hard because you are getting to know your baby. Baby is so young, is so needy, so dependent on mom's care. So it's really up to mom to make that call. Having said that, I think it's really important that I point out that I don't consider myself as an Islamic scholar. So if you moms feel that they need more details on, you know, what is the ruling, they can always consult their own imam or their own scholars. But we are coming with the idea that the exemption is here, and if moms can make use of that exemption, then they should. But there are many factors that they will have to take into consideration. But like you said, Amina, I think it's really important that moms take that flexible approach. You know, there is no rigidity. Don't feel, you know, that you have to fast the whole month. Even if you decide to, you think that it's safe for you to fast, you can fast. It's not going to affect you. It's not going to affect your baby. Do take that flexible approach. Do tell yourself that if I'm finding it too hard, if I'm finding that it's impacting on me, then I can leave it. So you can have take a break of, you know, you can either do intermittent one, so fast one day, leave one day, you know, take time to get more energy and then fast the next day again, or take a few days rest, you know, fast a few days, then leave it for a few days and then come back again. I think it's really important for mom to think about making it sustainable.
Absolutely. And I think that is really important. You know, it's obviously an individual decision. Always speak to your doctor or your midwife as well if you're considering fasting. You know, be honest about it, be upfront about it. As healthcare professionals, we know Ramadan comes around every year. We know these are the questions that are being asked. And, you know, having that honest conversation is really important, so that if you are choosing to fast, your healthcare team can support you as well. I think that you know, for I've been a midwife for 16 years, and I think that's the important thing of, don't feel like you have to keep it from your doctors and midwives, because we'll be disapproving of that. We're very, very respectful of people's choices and understand that even with the exemption, like Faranaaz said, I think the difficulty always is, and I know this when I was, pregnant myself, is Ramadan is so much more than about fasting, and you feel like you're missing out on something. It's not that there's even pressure from anyone else to do it. It's just that bit of kind of like, I want to be part of this, because it's something, it's a tradition, it's a heritage, it's something that you have always done, and it feels strange and not to do it. So kind of finding ways of doing it safely. If you're choosing to fast, doing it safely or finding alternatives is really, really important in that way. I think with pregnancy, if you are choosing to fast, it's really important that get advice from your midwife, from your doctor. They've got access to your health, your pregnancy history. They'll be able to advise you whether actually it can be safe for you to do so if you put this and this into place. If you have certain underlying health conditions or pregnancy conditions, again, they will have an honest conversation with you about the implications of fasting on that. And I think, again, most people are aware that not only is fasting and breastfeeding an exemption, is exempted from that, breastfeeding and pregnancy exempt from fasting, but so is certain health conditions like diabetes, etc., which are dependent upon your intake. So, sometimes if you've got pregnancy diabetes and you're fasting, that might have an implication in that way. And then it is about kind of working out what is safe for you, what feels kind of comfortable for you. Sometimes it may be doing a few days and then taking a break. Sometimes it is, like I said earlier, starting off and then seeing, actually, I've got to, 2 o'clock and it's really affecting me. I'm going to start eating again, and then I'll try it again later. Keeping that flexibility in, when you're pregnant, is and fasting is really, really important, and kind of being aware of how fasting will impact you. If you're in your 3rd trimester, you need to be quite cautious at that point. You're in the last few weeks of your pregnancy, so dehydration can sometimes lead to things like urine infections, which sometimes can start off, premature labor, for example. In your 3rd trimester, you need 200 extra calories. So trying to kind of keep that in as well is important. And then just being sensible, getting plenty of rest. Anybody who's done fasting in Ramadan will tell you that more than the hunger, it's the lack of sleep that really affects you, that broken sleep, and trying to kind of eat at the right times, that can affect you. But also, kind of making sure that the foods that you are eating are going to kind of be slow release foods, so that it can kind of sustain you longer as well. But paying attention to your body, discussing it with your healthcare providers, and taking, a flexible, sensible approach to it is really key and important in that. So I'll move on to you. So how would what would your advice be to somebody who is breastfeeding and choosing to fast?
So again, I think it's really important for mom to decide herself what is safe to do, and if it is safe for her to fast or not. But so things that mom might consider is her own health. So for example, if she has just had a baby, so we know that from the 6 to 1st weeks, her body itself needs time to heal. So give herself that that time to heal and to recover from the birth, from the delivery. Also, if it depends also on her own health. If she's quite poorly, she has other health conditions, it might be something that she would need to discuss with her own doctor before deciding to fast while breastfeeding. But regarding the baby, so it also it depends. Factors to be considered is the age of the baby. So it depends. So a baby who is less than 6 months old will not be the same as a baby who is like 1 year old. So remember that for the first 6 months, if baby is exclusively breastfeeding, then he will be dependent entirely on the mom for his nutrition. So that's where we'll ask mom to be very, very cautious about her decision. Remember that from 6 to 8 weeks, it takes about 6 to 8 weeks, and sometimes even 12 weeks for the milk supply to establish. So that during all that time, mom will be advising mom to feed regularly, to feed a lot, just to build her milk supply. Once the milk supply is quite established, then things will be easier on her. So that's something she can consider. So the first 3 months is really crucial that she focus on her baby and on feeding that baby. Also, the first 6 months, like we said, if she's exclusively breastfeeding, then baby is relying only on her for the nutrition. So if baby is not, the milk supply will not be affected after 3 months. But what can be, if mom is affected, if mom is feeling very tired, very weak, very dehydrated herself, then that will impact on the feeding patterns of the baby as well. So that might affect the baby. So we will ask mom to be very cautious during the first 6 months, and to think well whether that's something she is able to do, and if she wants to leave it for later, that will be something more advisable as well. But after 6 months, okay, so having said that, if mom is co-feeding, if she's not exclusively breastfeeding, or she is formula feeding, then that's fine. She can start considering fasting. It should be fine, because baby is not only reliant on the breast milk, so baby will be getting other source of nutrition. From 6 months to 12 months. So remember that the World Health Organization, the recommendations for the World Health Organization's first 6 months is exclusive breastfeeding, but then also is moms, if mom can breastfeed for the whole 2 years, then they will, baby will reap all the benefits of the breast milk, in terms of nutrition and health-wise, all the protection, the layers of protection that the breast milk will offer to that baby. So from 6 to 12 months, where baby now is, mom has started introducing complementary food, mom can start thinking about fasting, but again, it will depend on how much food that baby is taking, because we have to be realistic. Baby do not start eating 3-course meal, from the day they turn 6. It will be gradual. It will be very slow process. It will be very gradual. So she will have to, decide on how much food her baby is taking. We have to think about making it sustainable. If you are fasting for 1 month, and that's going to deplete your milk supply, and then afterwards you can't go back to feeding your baby, then that's something, it's really important. You have to take this into consideration. We have had moms who have come to decisions like weaning babies, from 1 year old. So it's like 1 year of milk that you're depriving that baby. If you could have just plan around the fasting, make it in a way that you're not depriving your baby from the breast milk, but also you're also able to keep up with the fasting.
No, I think that's brilliant advice. It is kind of, it's really important, thank you for sharing how important it is to be aware of babies' needs as they change, and that the kind of really early weeks, it can be kind of, it can be very hard to do it. And as your baby gets older, but absolutely kind of, keeping that flexibility. I think that, thank you so much for kind of sharing your expertise on that, definitely. Now, we've had a couple of questions through that people have kind of asked us through our Instagram page. And one of them was, what happens to the quality of breast milk when you decide to fast? Do you kind of have any advice on that, Faranaaz, or?
Yeah, so, like for the amount of milk, research have shown that even with women who are on marginal diets, they are still able to produce adequate amount of milk for the baby. So like I said, after that initial first 3 months, once the milk supply is quite established, the baby will be getting the milk. But then also we have to realize that, and the quality of the milk will be almost same. In terms of the macronutrients, it will be same. So it will be same amount of proteins, carbohydrates, fats, as a mom who is not fasting, for example. So the milk is not, the quality is not, affected. But in terms of micronutrients, like things like magnesium, zinc, and potassium, there will be, it will be a bit diminished because of the fasting. But we have to realize that babies do not need a great quantity of these micronutrients. For the macronutrients that babies would require, for their own growth, for their own development, that's not affected. But having said that, like I said to you earlier, it's really important for mom to realize on how this is going to impact on her, feeding baby many times in a day, between 8 to 12 times in a day. And there are other factors to take into consideration, like the length of the day. So like, for example, now we are in summer here, and it's about 17 to 18 hours of fasting. So for all that time that mom is going to be without any nutrition, any food, any free drink herself, how is that going to impact on her own health, and how will she be able to cope with the demand of a breastfeeding baby who is growing and who will need all the milk that he needs. So I think like I said, the quality is not affected, but mom will still need to think well about how this is going to impact on her, because most of the when you think about all the nutrients, so the milk, so it will be taken from the mom's reserve itself. The milk will be same, but it's the mom's reserve that is being depleted. Even like the calcium will be taken from mom's bone, in order to have a really good quality, calcium full milk to offer that baby. It will be taken from mom's body.
That's great. So actually, kind of picking up on that, do you kind of have any advice for if mums are choosing to fast and they're breastfeeding, kind of tips on what foods that they should be eating, what foods that they should possibly avoid? I think we know the foods that we should probably be avoiding, but definitely kind of foods that will help with a kind of a plentiful milk supply, so that you're not kind of tapping into those reserves too much.
Yeah, I think it's really important for mom to plan ahead if she is deciding to fast. Like I said, we are not. It's not up to anybody to tell mom you should fast or you should not fast. She is the one who is making that decision, but it has to be an informed decision. She should know of what is really implied when she's fasting. So she can so quite a few tips that we give moms is to plan ahead, so minimize the workload. Think about what is more important, prioritize. So for example, is it really important to go into that deep cleaning of the house when you're fasting, or would you rather keep that energy for yourself and for feeding your baby? Plan around suhoor and iftar time, because what we've noticed is what many moms have said is that babies tend to feed a lot during iftar time, because they can feel mom is replenishing herself, she's getting all the food, the stress level as well is quite low, so babies tend to feed a lot during iftar time. So she should think about how is she going to feed herself and feeding the baby at the same time. Plans try to have as much rest during the day as possible. Like I say, if the housework is not is not that important, you can leave lots of it. You don't have to hoover every single day, for example. Don't do extra cooking. Keep it to the minimum. Cook food in big batches, and if you can freeze it and use that would be a great idea as well. Ask for help around. Your mother is around and she can help. She will be sending food to you every day. That's something that will be really helpful. Or even the mother-in-law, if she's doing the housework and you are focusing on looking after yourself and your baby. And remember that it's not selfish if you're thinking about yourself. Self-care is really, really important, because if a mom is not up to it, if she is not feeling well, if she's not feeling strong enough, then that will impact on the baby and she won't be able to look after the baby. So it's really important that she takes that care of herself. Regarding food, so I think we would, like you said, advise on food that are full of fluid. So fruits and vegetables. I think about watermelon, cabbage, cucumber, foods that have got lots of fluid in it. Drink lots and lots of water when you're not fasting. Non-fasting time, to keep a bottle with you and keep having small sips. If you can, avoid heavy and oily food, and also salty food, because that will make you more thirsty. So avoid oily food, heavy food. Think of having soup, which is full of fluid. Again, smoothies. So in iftar time, you can have smoothies, drink milk as well. Also portable snacks, because when you're feeding baby, especially at night, if you notice that baby will be feeding maybe more during night, because they know that the mother's milk is richer after she has had her food. So think about having portable snacks at hand. So nuts, dried fruits, things that are rich in nutrient dense, and that will be easy for you to grab and eat while you're breastfeeding your baby. And
Brilliant.
also have plenty of sleep as well if you can. But I know nighttime is going to be a bit tricky.
Yes.
Especially if the baby is feeding more during nighttime. What many moms have said, the feeding pattern do change, so babies will adjust around the fact that mom is fasting. So they might decide to feed more during nighttime and less during daytime. So if mom can have plenty of naps during day, to make up for that sleep that she'll be deprived of at night.
Great. Thank you so much. I think we've had another question which is asking about kind of pregnancy and what foods to kind of do that in. So, again, I think just what Faranaaz has said, it's kind of being sensible, making sure you get plenty of kind of water and fluid into you as much as possible. If you're pregnant and you're choosing to fast, then that's really, really important. Hydration is really important in pregnancy, at any stage of pregnancy, especially more so in the third trimester as well. And then it's about kind of, a balanced pregnancy diet, foods that are rich in vitamins and minerals. So, pick your food sensibly, such as, things that are high in iron and calcium. Those are the two things that are usually affected, actually, pregnancy and breastfeeding both. Slow release energy foods. So, kind of beans and pulses, try and kind of keep the diet healthy. I know in Ramadan, and I am very much guilty of it myself, the temptation is to eat all of the amazing, delicious fried foods and the pakoras and the samosas and, all of the kind of breads, etc. So, they're great for a treat, but as we all kind of know, and I'm not even pregnant, but I've kind of got into a week of it and thought I can't actually eat anything fried anymore. So, kind of keep it to that treat level. Maybe soups are a good way of kind of getting the kind of roughage and vegetables into you as well. If your eating habits change, then you can become a little bit constipated. So again, you don't want to be constipated in pregnancy or breastfeeding, because that can kind of make you feel not so great. So high fiber foods as well, and yeah, plenty of kind of fresh fruit and vegetables. Those are the kind of important things to kind of be aware of. And if you're pregnant, continue taking obviously folic acid, vitamin D supplements that you want as well. Keep the sugary stuff. Again, Ramadan is a time where we all really up our dessert game, don't you think so, Faranaaz? Where everybody comes out with the most elaborate of desserts, and when you're hungry and you look at it and you think, I will eat that entire chocolate cake, it is very tempting to kind of just live off that. But again, just kind of being sensible in that kind of stuff will just help you feel a lot better, and will make sure that you're kind of getting the nutrition that you need from your food, and then not missing things. Like, I would say, if you're pregnant and you're fasting and you think it's safe for you to do so, and you don't kind of have any of those underlying health conditions, don't miss sahur. Make sure you get up and you have a decent amount of food for sahur. Again, things like porridges and cereals that will kind of give you that slow release of energy. Cut out caffeine. Hopefully pregnancy, not many people are drinking caffeine anyway, but really cutting back on that, and then plenty of water as well. I think that early morning meal of sahur is really, really important if you're breastfeeding or pregnant, because that's where you kind of build up that supply that will kind of get you through at least half of the day, if not a little bit longer. So do you have any specific foods that you think are great for breastfeeding, or just kind of keeping it general?
Yeah, no, like you said, all the slow released energy released food, like oats and wheat and cereal. So avoid sugary food, which will give you a quick boost, but then won't keep you going for long. So yeah, lots of fruits and veg, and avoid fatty foods. Yeah, I think you've mentioned all of them.
I with my son who's now 8, I breastfed him, for sort of just over 2.5 years, and so I did Ramadan whilst feeding him. And when he was quite young, I found definitely fasting affected my milk supply, and I had to do it. Sort of fast one day, have 2 days off, and fast one day. It was kind of worked for me. But somebody suggested an amazing smoothie of almond milk and dates. It was like rocket fuel. It was amazing. I drank it, and then like I could physically feel the milk supply kind of coming in. And there was, I think, something about the almond milk and the dates specifically for my kind of supply definitely kind of helped replenish it. And it was kind of, it was good to kind of keep me feeling full for a lot longer, rather than kind of, sort of milkshakes and other kind of milk that we kind of tend to drink in that way. I found that worked a lot better in that way. So experiment, I think, with food is important to kind of find what works for your milk supply as well is really important as well. I think that's it. I think there was one final question regarding heartburn in pregnancy, which I will just quickly answer. I think we've kind of covered it a little bit already, but the difficulty with heartburn is that it tends to be maybe squishing everything up, which means that you're kind of getting that your stomach shrunk a little bit, and it's kind of pushing everything up as well. So usually what we say is eat little and often, eat small amounts of food. Don't try and eat too close to kind of going to bed, because you're going to be eating and lying down, and everything will kind of come up again, which is very hard to do if you're fasting. So again, kind of, be flexible with it, manage it. If you are fasting and you're struggling with heartburn a little bit, first of all, kind of determine, is this a good idea for me to do so? If you're still kind of going ahead with it, then make sure that you're eating in small amounts. So kind of break your iftar up into smaller meals to just allow that to digest, and then cut out the fried food, the very spicy food, the very fatty food, because that will kind of make things kind of bubble up a lot more as well. The spicy kind of greasy foods definitely will kind of make your heartburn a lot worse in that way. So it is about kind of being sensible. I think there is an amazing amount of information available these days about kind of healthy eating whilst fasting, and we're all tempted by the foods that we kind of possibly grew up eating, and kind of want to replicate that, but kind of having it as treats rather than as your kind of main meal is the important thing, whether you're fasting in pregnancy or breastfeeding as well. So yeah, I think we've kind of covered most things. Is there anything else that you would like to add, Faranaaz?
Yeah, I just wanted to quickly go over things that signs of dehydration in mom. So when mom notices these signs in herself, then she would it would be advisable to consider breaking her fast, depending on how severe it is. So things like if she's feeling really thirsty, but not we do feel thirsty when fasting, but if it's more like really very, very intense thirst that is worse than normal, then that's she can start thinking about if she's dehydrated, if she's constipated, if for example the color of her urine is quite dark, or if she's having less urine, if she's feeling dizzy or lightheaded, so that will be a sign that she is dehydrated. And or if she's feeling nauseous as well, severe headaches, so not normal headache that you get normally on when we're fasting, but really severe one, very fatigue, intense fatigue, have dry mouth, dry lips and eyes. So with these things are happening and mom realizes that this doesn't look normal, then she can consider breaking her fast, because it's really important for her own health that she takes care of herself. So she can break her fast by drinking a drink of a mixture of salt and sugar to just give her that boost of energy. Signs in babies as well. How would mom know that babies they are affected by the fact that she is fasting? So if baby is discontent and not satisfied after feed, so sometimes baby after feed they are fine, they are happy, but if she feels no, baby is still fasting, it's still crying a lot, and that's could mean that, you know, baby's not getting enough milk. If, for example, baby have few nappies, wet nappies, even salt nappies as well, he's not doing that many, so then that could be sign that baby is not getting lots of milk. Weight as well, so watch the weight of the baby. If the baby is not putting on weight, or if there is a weight loss, a considerable weight loss, then, you know, I think mom should consider about whether she needs to carry on fasting or not. And if baby is unsettled or cranky, some babies might do it because of other things, you know, teething, happening, etc. But, you know, if it is, mom will know what is a normal behavior in her baby and what is an untoward behavior. So if she realizes, she finds that there is something not normal in that baby, or if he's quite drowsy, sleeping more than normal, then she, you know, that will be signs that, you know, baby is being affected. And then if she wants to leave fast for a few days and, you know, until things have improved, and then she can go back.
Brilliant. And I think the same applies if you're fasting in pregnancy, looking out for that dark urine, dizziness, weakness, headaches, you know, signs of dehydration, like Faranaaz brilliantly explained, applies in pregnancy as well. And if you just don't feel well, then, you know, that's, you know, to me, that's why the exemption has always been there, to kind of, it shouldn't, fasting is never there to make you unwell, and fasting is never there to, you know, put your health at risk or put your baby's health at risk. And I don't think anyone ever fasts with that in mind. So, you know, having that flexibility there is really key and important. You know, in most things as parents, it's key to kind of have that anyway. But, you know, when it comes to breastfeeding, when it comes to pregnancy, those are kind of the really important things. So thank you so much, Faranaaz, for joining us. Really, really appreciate your advice. You know, having kind of honest, real advice is really, really important, you know, so that people can make the best choices for themselves, you know, kind of taking, and as you sort of said earlier, making a really good, you know, kind of evidence-based informed choice in these matters. Keeping that conversation going with people is really, really important. And again, you know, amazing service that you provide for people. I can see why it's so popular, because you're very, very reassuring. So yeah, thank you so much.
If mums do need support, you know, if mums have decided to fast and they still need support with breastfeeding, they are most welcome to contact us. We are here to give support, you know, whatever their choice, their decision, whichever way they are feeding babies. And if they decide to fast or not to fast, you know, our organization is here to offer support to any mum.
Fantastic. And we'll be sharing the details of your website as well, so that people can kind of contact you and find you. But thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, Amina, for having me. Really, it was a real pleasure.
No, it's been great it's been a great chat. Ramadan Kareem to you, and to anyone else who's celebrating.
I mean, to you too. Ramadan Mubarak.